Hi, and welcome to Kim's Keto Kitchen, and welcome to my first video here where I plan to make delicious keto recipes that you can make at home easily. The first thing I'm going to do is make a chocolate keto cake, and it's something that I've adapted from someone on YouTube called Made in Alaska or something. I'll put that underneath. I'll put a link underneath. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I took it and I've adapted it and made it my own. So let's get to baking this cake. The first thing we're going to do is put our wet ingredients into this bowl here. So we're going to start with 3 eggs. And this is enough for one small cake, like an 8x8 baking dish. Some people like to double it so that they have enough for a larger family, but I have just a small family, so I'll just need the one. The next thing I'm going to use is vanilla, and I made this vanilla. I make my own vanilla with using vanilla beans and vodka, and it lasts me a long time. It's very economical. I'm just going to pour about 1.5 tablespoons will do. There we go, that's about right. And then we're going to add some granulated sweetener that is unsweetened. This one in particular is called monk fruit. And I find this one to be the most desirable for my GI tract, if you get my message. Okay, so now I'm going to take my whisk, and I'm going to whisk that. All up. And I'm going to also add 1/3 cup of another wet ingredient, almond milk. You can use any almond milk you want, or you could even use water, or unsweetened apple juice would be fun, would be kind of good too. Might give it a different tang. And those are all our liquid ingredients. Get it all mixed in. It looks like that egg is all incorporated. So now we're going to start with the dry ingredients. I keep my almond flour in my refrigerator. I don't bake that often because it tends to throw me out of ketosis, but I am going to use this one. I get this one offline because I don't have a Costco nearby, but you could get this at Costco easily. And I like this one. It's blanched, and it has a fine quart instead of a coarse. Excuse me while I get my measuring tool. We're going to need 1.25 cups. 1.5 cups, sorry, 1.5 cups. There's a cup, and I'm just going to do 1/2 cup. That's about right. That's our first dry ingredient. Our second one is 1/4 cup of baking cocoa. And then we are going to put quite a bit of baking powder in here because you really do need a rise to this, and the egg will help with the rising too. But this is 2¼ teaspoons of baking powder. And I don't, you know, a lot of people say that baking powder, you have to be careful of the carbs in the baking powder. I do baking so seldom that I really don't worry about it, and it really hasn't bothered my ketosis at all. And a little bit of salt. I'm just going to do a little pinch of salt so that it can counteract that sweetness with the monk fruit sweetness. And I think that's it for my dry ingredients. I'm going to stir that together. Try to get it as well incorporated as I can. So I've been on keto since, let's see, September of 2017. My oldest daughter, Katie, got married, and I thought, oh boy, I've got to look good for this. At the time, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. And I started right before then, and the weight just started dropping off me. I didn't follow any plan. I didn't have cookbooks. I just watched the carbs and stayed pretty healthy with those carbs. And in about 6 months, I dropped about 30 pounds. And I've been maintaining since. So this is a treat for me to make a dessert like this. I'm going to add and then stir with a spoon. The recipe calls for about 2 tablespoons. But I like mine chocolatey. So I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of Lily's chocolate chips. And if you're not familiar with Lily's chocolate chips, I get them online too. Amazon sells them. And some people claim to like and love Chalk Zero. They say that is much better on their GI tract than Lily's. I don't have any trouble with Lily's, so again, I don't eat that much of it, so I really don't have any reaction to it. All right, so I have an 8x8. I have a silicone, I find it easier, and I always spray it. Anything with almond flour, I always make sure I spray it anyway because it tends to leave, the almond flour tends to stick to even silicone. So I'm gonna add this to my pan. And scrape all that goodness out as much as I can. And level it off. And by the way, my beautiful daughter, Kyla, is my photographer today. Do you want to show everybody what you look like?
Maybe another time.
Okay.
With makeup.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Preferably.
All right, so what I'm going to do next is my daughter Kyla does not like any form of nuts, any tree nuts. So I'm just going to do about half of the cake. I'm going to sprinkle, because I love them, and pecans, which really have a low glycemic index. They're like one of the best nuts that you can eat on keto. So I'm going to give it an extra little crunch, probably about 1/8 of a cup, if that, maybe a couple tablespoons full of nuts. Okay, so that's that. So what I'm going to do is put this on a sheet pan, and I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes. Obviously, everybody's oven are different, so just keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't brown too much. And I'll see you back after that. Hey, welcome back to Kim's Keto Kitchen. And this is what it looks like out of the oven. Nice and firm, not too brown. It is going to feel a little spongy. It's not going to bounce back like a normal cake does. It will have it will be sort of like brownie-like consistency. So I thought, why don't we just make a little frosting to go with this and just take it up a notch? So I took some butter, and I had to stick it in the microwave because I took it right out of the refrigerator. About 4 tablespoons of butter I put in here. And I'm gonna start with about a cup of granulated monk fruit. Now, you can take powdered monk fruit. You can take any granulated powder, granulated sweetener, and you can stick it and grind it in your grinder and make it into a powdered substance. Okay, so I'm gonna start by just putting about a tablespoon of, maybe about half a tablespoon of vanilla first. Then I'm gonna start with about a tablespoon of almond milk, and this is what I use for my almond milk. Always unsweetened. And sometimes I'll get the vanilla too. I'll start with the tablespoons because it's better to start with less than too much. And let's mix that and see the consistency. So it looks like we're going to have to add a little bit more almond milk. That's my cat in the background. Her name's Ruby.
Hi, say hi to the camera. She's beautiful. She's a rag doll. Okay.
Okay, and this is the second tablespoon. I think this just might do it. Let's really whip that up.
Whip it good, as we say.
How do you know that song?
I mean,
You're pretty cool.
I am cool.
All right, so that's that. Now we'll take our spatula and let's put that on. So it's about a cup of powdered monk fruit, about half a tablespoon of vanilla, and about 2 tablespoons of almond milk. You can use water. You don't need to use the almond milk. Use whatever you have on hand. And we'll just it's very sweet with the unsweetened monk fruit. So I tend to go on the thinner side with any topping, any frosting, because it can be a little overly sweet in my opinion. So there we go. All right, and we'll come back and we'll cut a piece and we'll do a taste test. So here it is. It looks nice and fluffy. It feels like cake. Looks like cake. Let's give it a taste. It's very chocolatey and moist. And I always love vanilla frosting on my chocolate cake. It's delicious. I definitely make it again. I can feel those chocolate chips in my mouth. They're smooth and chocolatey, and I really love that extra chocolate in there. So give it a try. I hope you try it at home. Thanks for coming in to Kim's Keto Kitchen. See you next time.